Let's go to another matchup. The Detroit Lions. And Rob, the Detroit Lions, you said earlier, start of the season, when I picked them to win the division, when I picked them to get to the playoffs, you were skeptical and said you wouldn't believe until they won a playoff game. They've done that. And yet you still don't believe. And making matters, I guess, worse for you is now there are folks saying that they should be America's team for the next, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
That and 250 will get you on the subway. Okay.
Rob G, explain this column.
Oh, when I saw this column, I immediately thought of you, Rob Parker.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And I want you to know, Rob G, Chris wasn't here when they won. Did I not give them credit for winning?
You give them a minuscule amount of
but
credit.
I did.
I don't think you've given them
I gave them credit. I did. Go ahead.
So anyways, Alex Kirshner does a great job for them, one of the columnists. He wrote that, as Chris said, the Detroit Lions should be America's team for the rest of this postseason run. And he mentioned 3 specific things. One of them being that they just got a history of futility. And it's nice to see a team be that bad for that long, come back around and get a win, right?
Hard to argue with that.
Number 2, their fan base, given their history of futility, is still one of the most passionate and rabid fan bases in the entire NFL. So to see them win something and to see what could come of it would be great to see. That's number 2. And number three, he specifically pointed out Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. Dan Campbell, when he was hired, plenty in the media, including on this show, poked some fun at him. He talked about biting kneecaps, and it was like, well, this is the guy they hired. Are you serious? This big, giant meathead over here? Jared Goff has been well documented, was kicked to the curb by Sean McVay after a Super Bowl appearance.
Not on this show, though.
He was second serving there in Detroit, and both Campbell and Goff are proving to be success stories so far with the Lions. So, Rob Parker, do you agree with Alex Kirshner of Slate that the Detroit Lions should be America's team here down the home stretch?
No way, no how. These are the same people who Chris Broussard included. I don't want to see the Lions on Thanksgiving. I don't want to see the Lions on Thanksgiving. I'm so tired. I've been watching them forever. They should pick another team. We don't care about the Lions. We don't. Now all of a sudden they win a playoff game, and now they should be America's team. How about getting to the Super Bowl, and then maybe people can say, wow, what a story, and I want to see the Lions win. But after one win against the Rams at home, now they're America's team. This is an over-the-top Johnny come lately.
Well, he's not saying they're America's team.
He's saying they should be. That people should be. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That people should root for them is all I'm saying. There are plenty of people who still aren't going to be in that boat. I've seen a lot of people pick already Tampa Bay in that game.
Most people are with the Lions.
Yeah, but I've seen other people pick Tampa Bay. And Baker Mayfield is another great story of a guy. Talk about being kicked to the curb. Helped Cleveland win its first playoff game in 20-some-odd years, and all of a sudden they didn't want him and get rid of him.
Individually, he's a better redemption story than Jared Goff at this point.
Yeah, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl, but he went to a Super Bowl already, right?
Goff would be better if he actually won the Super Bowl.
That would be the ultimate, Chris.
Right now, he's not better than Baker's that. But let me go down the teams, Rob, and let's just thinking of it as an objective observer, right?
That's all I am.
No rooting interest. Just what is kind of the best, most inspiring story. Let's look at these teams. Buffalo. Look, you can argue, hey, never won a Super Bowl, lost 4 straight, have been the stepchild to the Kansas City Chiefs in this run. They got a pretty good story.
They got a great story.
But I would argue
they have a great story. They
But I would argue, I'm looking at between them and Detroit. I would argue Detroit had the better, though slightly, but the better inspirational story.
See, I disagree. I think that it's Buffalo by far. They were during this season when they had the bad stretch. they looked like they were dead. This whole thing was dead. I counted them out. And all they did is won, 7 in a row now and turned their fortunes around. And now they're on the cusp of getting to where they wanted to go for a while and have a shot at the Super Bowl again. So I think it's an unbelievable story. And what Buffalo, you want to talk about the Lions never getting anywhere. Imagine, Chris, I get it. You want to get to the Super Bowl, have a chance to win.
I'd rather have Buffalo's history than Detroit.
Yeah, but that's a dubious history to lose 4 straight. That's painful for a fan base that you couldn't win one of those Super Bowls and you got there not 4 over 25 years, 4 in a row. I mean, you had an all-time great team and couldn't punch your ticket once.
All
and
right,
now here your team.
Rob G, you settle it. We disagree on Buffalo. Where you at on this? Which one is the more inspiring story?
Between those two, I'm leaving Detroit.
Okay.
I'm leaning Detroit.
All right, so let's look at Kansas City. I think it's clear it would be Detroit over them. Would you agree?
Yeah,
with that?
there's nothing for Kansas. Kansas City's already had plenty. I agree with that.
Baltimore. Now, Baltimore is obviously Lamar. He holds out for the contract. He represents
Nobody
himself.
else offered him any money. The contract, yeah,
right. He's been doubted since day one. I mean, even coming into the league, has kind of learned to become a better passer and yet still a great runner. One of the most unique quarterbacks in the history of the game. That's a good one. But again, I'm looking at the entire franchise. Baltimore obviously has won Super Bowls. And so John Harbaugh's won the Super Bowl. So I would say, man, it's hard. I think Lamar is a great story.
I think Lamar.
But if I'm just looking at the franchise, I would say Detroit.
I think Lamar, the 2 MVPs, Chris, it looks like, to finally break that thing where people at one point thought that you couldn't win with him. It's kind of like the Joker for me. That's what I think of Lamar's season, Chris, where people were questioning, well, look at these numbers, analytics and all that, but he can't win or whatever. And for him to be able to pull this off with this team after so many doubted him, I think is a fantastic story. And he would have a Super Bowl, 2 MVPs, Chris, 27 years old. I mean, he would be an incredible story in the NFL.
It's some good stories.
Am I right? Is that not a good story, Rob G?
No, nobody doubts it's a great story. I just think Detroit would be better. But Rob G, where you at on that?
I would lean Baltimore. And for everything Rob said, absolutely. But in addition to that, we talked about this off the air before the show, if Lamar Jackson is able to win a Super Bowl, it's not big just for him. Obviously, it's huge for him.
Right.
But everybody coming up after him when they say, no, you can't win with a running quarterback. You got to be winning from the pocket. And Lamar Jackson's done a better job from the pocket this season more than ever. But at his core, he is a running dynamic weapon.
Yep.
And for him to be able to flip that so that there's another kid coming up from Toledo or another kid coming up from Miami, and that it's going to change the way we view NFL quarterbacks moving forward. The same way Steph Curry and them winning in Golden State changed the way people thought about three-point shooting at small guards in the NBA.
All right, let's go to Houston. I mean, man, look, as we break these down, there's some really good stories. Houston, I mean, the rookie, C.J. Stroud, second pick, first quarterback ever that we can recall, Rob, to come out of Ohio State and actually be good. A team, a franchise that was left for dead. Now, some of it, they were run terribly in the front office. But Deshaun Watson is like, I'm out of here, forces his way out. They lose the great quarterback at that time, who they had just paid, a huge salary to. That's a good story, man. DeMeco Ryans, first-year coach. Man, I do think there are stories better than Detroit.
Now that story's better than
yearly.
Detroit.
I think that's better, and I would agree. This year, I would say both that and Baltimore are better, and Buffalo's close, as you said. But I just think, again, history of the franchise, always the bridesmaid, always the bottom feeder. But I would go Detroit. But this is a tough one.
Yeah. I just think the Houston story, a rookie quarterback, a rookie coach, they haven't won jack. The Deshaun Watson, the history of what has been done and all that, I think that would put them over the lines as well. So, Rob G, are you in agreement with me, or Rob G? Which one are you on that?
I'm with the Lions on that one.
Oh, the Lions
only because their history isn't long enough for me to have any kind of emotional attachment to it.
You mean Houston?
Houston's, yes.
Yeah.
All right, San Francisco. Now, a lot of people might say, come on. They've been a great franchise, but it's Mr. Irrelevant. I still am going to go with Detroit over them.
If Brock Purdy can win a Super Bowl, is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a tough. I mean,
Mr. Irrelevant, and we've talked about it before. Who am I thinking of? The quarterback,
Kurt Warner.
Chris. We've already talked about that. That's the closest thing, and that was a great story, obviously, for him, and he won the MVP.
It was a movie. Wasn't it a movie made about him?
Was it?
Am I wrong?
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Underdog or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, that's how good a story
That was a cartoon with Sweet Polly Purebred. Am I thinking of something else?
All right, we only got a few minutes.
Nothing, Alex? Okay. I'm going to take Brock Purdy.
Okay.
I just think Mr. Irrelevant in a situation like that is pretty incredible because everybody counted him out, and for him to be able to get there, and the 49ers
got a lot around him.
And
Kyle Shanahan would be his first Super Bowl,
right? And the 49ers have been like a favorite for a while, and yet he would finally get there.
No, it'd be a great story. All right, let's go to another one. Green Bay. I mean, my goodness, it'd be a third straight Super Bowl winning quarterback when teams go decades without a great quarterback.
Oh no, that would be incredible.
Right?
No,
the superstar, doesn't want any more of you. I mean, I think they wanted to move on too, but Jordan Love, first year as a starter, that's a great one. I do think there are several better than the Lions this year. But I just think overall, I mean, they've been so bad, they're that franchise, that I would go with them. But this is a tough one too, Rob.
Oh.
Tough.
It is tough.
If Jordan Love.
I think for the Packers to lose a Hall of Fame quarterback and go to the Super Bowl the next year and win, I'd have to take the Packers story.
Now, and Tampa Bay is a good one too. I think the thing there, Baker obviously great. The one thing is they obviously just won a Super Bowl not long ago with Tom Brady. So I'd go Detroit over them. But Baker individually is just a fantastic story. All right, we're going to throw it out to you guys. 877-99 on Fox. Are the Detroit Lions the best story of this season as far as a team that could win the Super Bowl? Like if they went on to win it, would that be the best story? Or is one of these other teams or several of them better than the Lions?
All right, Chad in Kansas City. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Chad?
Fellas, thank you for your time. It's an honor and a privilege. I mean, I don't know about America's team. It is a great story, but is it the best story? I would say the meaning of it is definitely greater than the rest of them. The meaning to the city, to the ownership, to the fans, to everybody involved. I think the meaning means more to anybody else than any other fan base, I believe. But when it comes to the young guys, Stroud, Love, stepping up, doing what they've been able to do, I mean, that's got to be the story, man. I mean, for those guys, you could even throw Brock Purdy in it. So that's what I'm going with it, baby. I love it. Enjoy the game, baby.
All right. My goodness.
He's excited. That's good to hear.
David in Dallas. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, David?
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
First things first, though. Well, this is the home of the true America's team, but since we're going to let somebody rent it for the next 3 months, it's the Lions. Goff is the most likable of these quarterbacks, and to me, Stroud is the most dislikable.
Why is Stroud dislikable?
Stroud, really? Why?
Because he uses his post-game press conferences to go on social warrior garbage. He needs to shut up and dribble.
Wow. Shut up and dribble. Well, Rob said that about him too yesterday.
No, I didn't say that. Please
I
don't say
disagree.
that.
He can say what he wants to
I
say.
didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
You said he shouldn't say what he said.
No, I just said that the news organizations. Chris, I've been covering sports for almost 40 years.
Me too.
I've never used a quote that started with someone saying something about.
I'm not saying put it in your.
I'm just asking you. Have you ever put that in?
But hold on, that's not the same. That's the apples and oranges.
No, but why take it out? He said it.
He
He said it. Why take it out? If he said
we take out all types of stuff.
Okay, then that's
no, but this was This was a TV interview.
They could take it out if they're editing it. They could do it. They could edit it for time.
It wasn't right. They wouldn't do it if it was something else.
Steve DeSager edits stuff all the time because he has only 16 seconds to get a soundbite in.
Well, they didn't do it for time.
So he has to
and they wouldn't do it if it was LGBT.
So he has to pull it out. That's what you say. I disagree.
We know. If they did do it, they get ripped.
Morgan
That's all I'm saying.
and Bakersfield. I don't agree with that. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? Always love hearing you guys. You guys do a great job, as always.
Thank you.
My opinion is this: there's no way, no how, quote the great Rob Parker.
Very nice. Thank you.
Anybody could, take what the Lions are doing this year and compare it to anybody else. It's yes, there's some other, pretty interesting, great stories, but I think, Chris, you hit it on the nail on the head on that. You're taking the franchise's entire history in this moment, and it's like all the other teams have either, with the exception of the Texans, all the other teams have either been to the Super Bowl.
But wait a minute, the Texans are an expansion team. They got a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach.
But they haven't been that long. That's the thing.
No, but still, it's unheard of.
It's not compared.
The Lions have won championships. I want you to know they haven't won in the Super Bowl era, but they've won championships. I'm just saying. Let's not make it like they've never.
Let's not make it like what? It's been. Were you even alive when they won the Super Bowl? I don't think so. And you're 60.
What does that mean?
That means it's been a long time.
Can we squeeze one more? No? We good? Okay.
Former NFL quarterback, now a great NFL analyst. We welcome back Sean King. What up, brother?
Yo.
What's happening, man? Happy belated birthday to the great Rob Parker.
Man,
60 years on this earth. Happy birthday, brother.
I appreciate
Rob
it.
been around a long time.
That's all right. Hey,
a long time.
I'll take it, Chris. Better than the alternative.
It beats the alternative, right?
Yeah,
right?
Sean was supposed to be at the party, couldn't make it. He got stuck, but Sean, we missed you, no doubt.
Yeah, I didn't get in till almost midnight that night, man. I wanted to come too.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a great time. All right, Sean, let's start with Lamar Jackson. I think he's facing more pressure than any quarterback this weekend just because he's about to win the next MVP. He's going up against a rookie. And he's been, let's just keep it real, he's been bad in the playoffs. 1-3, and his numbers aren't good. Four turnovers or 4 touchdowns, 7 turnovers. How convinced are you that those days are behind him and that he'll step into these playoffs and play really good football?
I'm convinced because I think this is the best team he's had. I mean, offensively, I know they just ruled Mark Andrews out, but Isaiah Likely, the young tight end from Coastal Carolina, has been really good. And this receiving core, they've been banged up, but now they're finally healthy. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, Nelson Aguilar. Like, he's never had this amount of quality weapons. Yep. So I do think we're going to see the best performance from Lamar that we've seen. In a year where it's kind of up in the air, wouldn't it be a hell of a narrative for him to win MVP and then lead this Ravens team to a championship?
I agree.
No, it'd be a great story.
It would be a great story considering everything. It would be his second MVP. It would be pretty impressive. And he's only 27 years old. Let's go to the Baker Mayfield story. What do you make of Baker Mayfield? And a lot of people, including Rob G. Rob, I'm sorry, I got to put you out on Front Street. Chris thought he was done, but Rob G. thought his last start was in the NFL was when he started for the Rams that game. You remember when he came to L.A.? Baker's turned it around. What do you make of his season this year?
I think I'm happy for Baker. Let me say that. But I also say this. I thought the narrative on Tampa was wrong from the beginning. Tampa was so much more than just Tom Brady. And when you look at this team, almost all of those faces that were a part of that Brady Super Bowl team are still there. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you go to defense, Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Carlton Davis. Like, they still got a whole lot of guys from that team. And, Baker got an opportunity to get a chance to start in a real weak NFC South division. So they didn't have to be great in the regular season to get in. And now they're dangerous. I think they're a live dog going to Detroit. In the regular season game, I know Detroit won 20-6, but Tampa really made Detroit one-dimensional. Held the Lions to only 40 yards total rushing in that game. So if they can go in and force the Lions to be pass first, pass only, I think they can get this game to the fourth quarter and find a way to win it.
We haven't talked to you about Brock Purdy. A lot of people, some people think he's doing, has had a great year. I thought he was the legitimate MVP candidate most of the year. Others are very skeptical, think he's just in a great system. Where are you at on Purdy? And do you think with him at the helm, they're the favorites in the NFC?
You know who Purdy reminds me of, guys?
Who's that?
Drew Brees.
Okay.
He's very similar to Drew Brees. Doesn't have a great arm, but he has a high football IQ. He throws the ball with great anticipation. He's not afraid to try and fit the ball in the tight windows, even though he's limited from an arm talent standpoint. But also, Drew wasn't nearly as good with the Chargers as he was with the Saints, because he teamed up with Sean Payton, and they had great personnel around him, and they won a lot of games. And I think Purdy's kind of in that same frame of talent at the quarterback position. And, they got a great team in San Francisco. Why they haven't won it? Was it Garoppolo? Was it always the quarterback? We're going to find out. If Purdy can do this one thing, San Francisco will win a championship, not turn the ball over. He does put the ball in harm's way quite a bit. And that's why you see those real volatile, high turnover games, because when the ball doesn't bounce his way, they're interceptions. Now, he's lucky, man. I'm just telling you, I don't know what kind of praying his family's doing, but he'll throw a ball right to the other team, and the guy will just drop it. So if he can just overcome those bad decisions from time to time, San Francisco's got a heck of a team. But the comp for me with Purdy is Drew Brees.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the big game against Baltimore when he had the 4 interceptions. Was that sound the alarm if you're a 49ers fan? Was that a scary to see him kind of come undone there?
Well, that was my write-up before the season on Purdy. If you go back and watch his stretch of games last year, he had multiple games where he threw those same balls that Baltimore intercepted. For whatever reason, every time a ball was batted in the air, it found the grass. Every time he threw in the coverage, the DBs ran into each other, and it was a pass defense. It wasn't an interception. And so the Ravens were the first team that actually held on to the football, because he's very aggressive, and he does force the ball into situations that can lead to turnovers. But, he's gotten away with it, so I wouldn't expect him to change. One thing that really surprised me about Dallas was how conservative they were against a weak Packers secondary. Like, if you go back and look at that game, they never really tested the Packers down the field. I think San Francisco is going to do that. I think the 49ers are going to win this game pretty comfortably.
Let's talk about, we want to focus on quarterbacks with you. So the Bill Belichick second interview with Atlanta this weekend, I don't think it's a good fit for him because they don't have a quarterback. I don't really like him with young quarterbacks, so even if they trade for Justin Fields, I don't necessarily like that. Now, go get Russell Wilson. I don't think Russ is going to be great anymore. He can be good. And then, there's potentially Kirk Cousins out there, I guess. But what do you think about Belichick in Atlanta with maybe some of these quarterbacks, or right now without a quarterback? You think that's a good move for him and the Falcons?
Well, let me give you a different prism to look at the situation through. It's better to inherit a team without a quarterback than to inherit a team that's paid one that you can't win a championship with. Because at least in Atlanta, he gets to choose his guy. And I'm assuming that he's going to bring Josh McDaniels with him. So you'll hear names like Jimmy Garoppolo, and people are going to scoff and laugh at that, but that's an upgrade over Desmond Ridder. Kirk Cousins, are they willing to really break the bank to get Kirk Cousins out of Minnesota, who I think Kirk's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
You think he's a fit with Belichick and McDaniels?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Kirk would be really good in that offense. I like Kirk more than Garoppolo because for the most part, Kirk Cousins has stayed healthy. But I'm telling you, you'd rather get a team like Atlanta where you can go out and pick your guy than to say get the Saints where you have Carr, who you paid all this money to, who's decent, but he's not going to win you a championship. Same thing with Dallas. And I think it's one of the reasons why I didn't think the Dallas job was going to be that attractive if it became open, because you're kind of stuck with Dak. And Dak has proven, for whatever reason, in the playoffs, he's just not the same guy that he is during stretches of the regular season.
So you don't think, because they're going to probably pay him. I think you probably agree with that.
I'm with you.
You don't think they can win a Super Bowl with him?
What would make me think that, Chris? What has he done?
Build the team around. I get it. He has definitely, this was ridiculous this year. But I think he can't be the leader. Like, you can't put the team on his back and say throw for 300 and lead us to the Super Bowl. But I think that was their mistake this year to me. But if you get a really nice run game, like if they were to add Derrick Henry, you really think Dak couldn't be their QB and then win a Super Bowl?
I mean, what's the difference between Derrick Henry at this age and prime Ezekiel Elliott?
I said it, Rob. You know that they could have had Ezekiel there right now. And I just think they need somebody to balance out Pollard, because Pollard wasn't the same when he had to kind of be the meat eater as far as a running back.
So, Chris, look at it from an allocation of resources standpoint. What is Dak going to command? We're talking.
Well, he's getting he's going to get at least
right.
50.
We're talking $50 million. Why would I give a guy $50 million a year who 3 years ago ran the ball and the clock ran out on us in the playoff game? Last year, turned the ball over in the second half and we lost. And this year, played the worst first half of football I've ever seen.
Yep.
Listen,
so what if you could end up going 5? Dak, there are about 3 quarterbacks like Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Burrow that are definitively better than him on any given year. And then that 5, maybe Stroud, we'll see, he's still young, but 5 to 10 to 12, that kind of fluctuates year to year, and Dak's in that group. I'm just saying, if you get rid of him, like, where you going? You could be the next 5 to 10 years without a quarterback.
So my thing is this. I would keep Dak if he's going to take a discount. If he's going to give me the Brady deal, I mean, Dak, you've made.
Well, that's about 50 now. I mean, honestly, that would be about 50.
The Cowboys would need to have a coupon to get that done.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not paying a guy that's proven he can't get it done in the playoffs that big money. I'm not afraid to start over. I'm not afraid to go in a different direction if I know the car I'm driving in can't get me to my destination.
I'm with you, and the Texans are a prime example that you don't have to just sit around and say, well, what else are we going to do? We got to keep them no matter what. I think I'd take the unknown over the known, and I'm with you. The known is that Dak is not going to get it done when it matters. I think that's already etched in stone now.
And let me ask you this. Sometimes I just think guys get too comfortable. I mean, Dak's offseason not going to be messed up because he played bad and they lost again in the playoffs.
Well, I put that on Jerry.
Right. And that's one of Jerry's greatest faults, in my opinion. He's so involved and he falls in love with personalities and players that I don't think those guys are under that much duress and stress, because ultimately they know he's going to blame the coach at some point.
Nah, no doubt. Man, Sean, great stuff as always, brother. We appreciate you breaking down the playoffs for us, and enjoy the games this weekend, man.
All right, will do. I'm telling you, Buffalo, Kansas City going to be an all-time great.
Who you got? Who you got?
Whoever has the ball last wins.
Wow.
I'm going with Buffalo. I think Rob is too.
I'm going with Buffalo.
So we will see. All right, man. Peace. Yep.